The rain began gently, almost like a whisper against the windshield, as I started my journey across the winding roads of Transylvania. The sky was a quiet gray, its heavy clouds rolling lazily over the distant Carpathian Mountains, cloaking their jagged peaks in mist. There was a soft rhythm to the droplets, a steady tapping that seemed to lull the world into a state of half-dream. The road stretched ahead like a ribbon of dark silk, slick with rain and glistening beneath the dim glow of my headlights. Each mile felt timeless, as though the countryside itself existed outside of hours and minutes. Ancient forests lined both sides of the narrow road, their tall pines and beech trees dripping with rain, branches leaning in as if listening to the hum of the engine. Now and then, the trees parted to reveal glimpses of wide meadows, their grass bending under the weight of water, shimmering faintly in the subdued light. I lowered the window slightly, letting the cool air drift in, carrying the earthy scent of wet soil, pine resin, and the faint smoke of distant chimneys from villages hidden deep in the hills. The sound of the rain mingled with the low hum of the engine, creating a rhythm that felt like a heartbeat, slow, steady, reassuring. With each turn of the wheel, I felt myself slipping into a kind of meditation, as if this road through Transylvania were not just a path through geography, but a passage through memory, through dream, through quiet reflection. There was no rush, no destination pressing urgently on my mind. Only the steady rain, the winding road, and the soft embrace of solitude, guiding me deeper into the heart of a land where legends slept as peacefully as the travelers who passed through it. The rain grew steadier as the road climbed higher into the hills, painting the windows in silver streaks. Each droplet raced another down the glass, merging, parting, and vanishing in the endless cascade. The world outside blurred into watercolors, greens and browns of forest, grays and blues of the cloud-heavy sky. I slowed my pace, not out of caution, but to savor the unfolding quiet. The villages I passed were hushed, their stone cottages and wooden barns hunched beneath the downpour like old friends wrapped in shawls. Smoke spiraled lazily from chimneys, curling into the damp air before dissolving into mist. On porches, figures sometimes stood, cloaked in coats or shawls, watching the rain with eyes that seemed both distant and welcoming. Their presence was brief, like silhouettes in a dream, and then they were gone as I passed on, swallowed again by forest and fog. The road itself seemed alive, winding like a thoughtful stream, curving gently through valleys and over small stone bridges where rivers swelled and rushed beneath. The sound of rushing water added another voice to the symphony of rain, echoing softly against the hillsides. At times I switched off the radio, preferring the music of nature to any melody manufactured by human hands. There was something grounding in that harmony, the gentle patter above, the flowing streams below, and the low, steady hum of my tires against the wet road. It felt as though Transylvania was not a place to rush through but a living, breathing story, one that welcomed you into its rhythm if only you were willing to slow down, breathe deeply, and listen. As night approached, the rain softened, falling in a fine, silken drizzle that turned the world into a dreamscape. My headlights cast a golden glow upon the road, illuminating drifting mist that curled like smoke around the edges of the forest. I felt as though I were driving not through the present, but through a legend, the kind whispered by firelight in the quiet corners of inns. The trees loomed taller here, their trunks rising like cathedral pillars, their crowns lost in the gathering fog. At times, I imagined I could see faces in the bark, ancient watchers peering out through centuries of growth. The rhythm of rain became softer, like fingertips brushing glass, while the hush of the forest wrapped itself around me. Each curve in the road felt deliberate, guiding me deeper into mystery. Occasionally, ruins appeared, an old stone wall crumbled by time, or the lonely silhouette of a tower half hidden by ivy. They stood like forgotten memories, untouched by hurry, content to dissolve slowly back into the earth. Yet there was nothing frightening here, only a sense of deep stillness, a reminder that the past and present shared the same rain, the same soil, the same silence. I found comfort in that continuity, as if I were but another traveler adding my small thread to Transylvania's endless tapestry. The steady drizzle tapped out a lullaby, and with every mile, I felt myself drifting further from the noise of modern life and deeper into the embrace of timeless quiet. When the road curved into a wide valley, the landscape opened like a sigh, revealing rolling meadows soaked in rain. Patches of wildflowers bent under the weight of droplets, their colors muted, but no less beautiful for their softness. A small herd of sheep grazed along the slope, their wool heavy with dampness, watched over by a shepherd wrapped in a dark cloak. His figure stood motionless against the horizon, almost blending with the land itself, as if he had been rooted there for centuries. Beyond him, the distant outline of a village beckoned, red-roofed houses clustered around the spire of a church, its bell tower rising like a sentinel above the mist. As I approached, the narrow streets wound gently between rows of cottages. Light glowed warmly from windows, golden squares against the gray drizzle, promising hearth and company. I parked near a small inn where flower boxes still clung bravely to their blooms despite the weather. The wooden sign above the door swung slightly in the rain's breath. Inside, the inn smelled of fresh bread and wood smoke, the warmth enveloping me like a blanket. The innkeeper, a kind woman with soft eyes, welcomed me without question, as if she had been expecting my arrival all along. After a meal of soup and bread, I retired to a room where the steady rain played its lullaby on the roof. Wrapped in a woolen blanket, I listened to the quiet life of the village below, the faint murmur of voices, the occasional bark of a dog, and soon drifted into a peaceful sleep, the rain carrying me into dreams as gentle as the road itself. Morning came slowly, as though reluctant to disturb the hush of the valley. I awoke to the steady rhythm of rain still falling, though softer now, like a quiet conversation. The window looked out onto the street where cobblestones gleamed wetly, and villagers went about their day wrapped in cloaks and shawls. Horses clopped steadily as carts rolled through puddles, their wheels sending ripples outward like circles of time. I lingered over breakfast, savoring warm bread, honey, and strong coffee while the rain tapped on the glass beside me. The innkeeper shared stories of the region, speaking of the mountains that guarded secrets in their mists, and of castles whose stones remembered more than books ever could. Her voice was unhurried, like the rhythm of rain itself, and I listened as though each tale were a thread binding me more deeply to this land. When I stepped back onto the road, the drizzle felt like a companion rather than an obstacle, a reminder that journeys need not be bright and clear to be meaningful. The air was cool, the scent of wet earth rich and grounding, and the world seemed to breathe with me. I set off once again, my car rolling slowly out of the village, carrying with it not only the warmth of the inn but also the gentle lesson that rain is not a hindrance. It is a reminder to pause, to notice, to live slowly enough that even the quietest stories can be heard. The road now led me deeper into the Carpathians, where the rain became heavier, thundering softly on the roof as though drumming a steady rhythm to guide my way. Rivers ran alongside me, swollen with water, rushing and tumbling over rocks with a wild energy that contrasted beautifully with the serenity of the rain above. Waterfalls spilled from cliffsides, silver ribbons unraveling into the mist. I pulled over once, standing beneath the shelter of an ancient oak to watch the cascade of a waterfall that vanished into a pool below. The roar of the water mingled with the soft patter of rain, creating a symphony that was both fierce and soothing. There was a sense here that the earth itself was alive, pulsing with an energy that both humbled and calmed me. Birds flitted from branch to branch despite the rain, their feathers gleaming darkly, their songs softened but persistent. I thought of how life continued unfazed, how rain nourished even as it slowed. Returning to the car, I drove on, the winding roads carrying me higher, past cliffs and ridges that disappeared into low clouds. Each mile seemed to draw me further into mystery, but never into fear, only into awe. It was as though the mountains themselves were guardians, keeping watch with patience, their peaks hidden but their presence undeniable. Later, I found myself in another village, smaller than the first, where the houses clung closely to the hills as though seeking comfort in each other. Here, the rain fell lightly, almost like mist, softening every edge until even the sharp lines of rooftops seemed blurred into watercolor. Children splashed in puddles, their laughter bright and unbothered by the drizzle, while elders sat beneath covered porches, their conversations low and rhythmic. I stopped at a small cafe where steam rose from mugs of tea, and the air was fragrant with herbs and baked goods. The owner, a man with kind wrinkles at the corners of his eyes, served me chamomile tea in a simple clay cup, telling me it was good for travelers weary from rain and road. I sipped slowly, feeling warmth spread through me, the rain outside playing its endless lullaby against the windows. Conversations here were soft, unhurried, woven with pauses that left room for silence. I realized that the rain shaped life in these villages not as a nuisance, but as a gentle reminder of patience, of stillness, of acceptance. When I left, the cafe owner pressed a small loaf of bread into my hands, a gift for the journey. His kindness lingered long after the village had faded behind me, another quiet blessing carried forward by the rain. As evening approached again, the rain lightened to a delicate drizzle, and the clouds began to thin, revealing patches of pale sky. The road wound along a ridge that offered sweeping views of the valley below. Rivers glimmered silver in the fading light, threading through fields and forests like veins of living water. In the distance, the silhouette of a castle rose atop a hill, its towers shrouded in mist, its walls dark against the soft glow of dusk. I stopped to watch, feeling as though I had stumbled into the pages of a storybook. The castle seemed timeless, a monument not to power or fear but to endurance, standing silently against centuries of rain and wind. Lightning flickered faintly in the distance, illuminating the horizon in fleeting flashes of silver. Yet there was no thunder, only the gentle patter of rain, as if nature itself respected the stillness of the moment. I lingered there until night fell, the car resting quietly beside the road, my heart filled with a calm too deep for words. The castle, the valley, the rain, all of it seemed to exist outside of time, and for a moment, so did I. The final stretch of my journey carried me into rolling hills where the rain at last began to ease, leaving behind a world fresh and glistening. Drops clung to every blade of grass, every leaf, every stone, sparkling like scattered jewels in the soft light of dawn. Birds sang brighter now, their voices carrying clear and strong through the washed air. Villages stirred awake, smoke rising in thin, contented curls from chimneys, while shepherds guided flocks across emerald meadows. I drove slowly, savoring each turn, each view, each breath of rain-cleansed air. The road itself felt transformed, no longer slick and shadowed but bright, reflective, almost luminous. My reflection joined the skies in puddles that mirrored both cloud and sun. It struck me then that the rain had never been an interruption. It had been the story itself, the quiet companion that carried me through Transylvania's timeless beauty. Without it, the forests would not have shimmered, the rivers would not have sung, and the villages would not have glowed so warmly against the gray. Rain had been my guide, my music, my teacher. And now, as it faded into memory, I felt only gratitude for its presence. When at last I reached the edge of the journey, where the road widened and flattened into open country, I stopped to rest beside a meadow glistening with dew. The sun broke through at last, shy but determined, scattering beams of gold across the wet earth. Steam rose from the ground as though the land itself were exhaling after a long, gentle dream. I sat in silence, listening to the final drops fall from the trees, each one a closing note in the rain's long lullaby. My journey through Transylvania had not been defined by haste or distance, but by rhythm, by the sound of rain on glass, on leaves, on stone. It had been a journey into stillness, into presence, into a land where time itself seemed softened by mist. The road had carried me through valleys and villages, over rivers and ridges, into the heart of stories written not in books but in rain. And as I sat there, letting the quiet settle deep within me, I realized that such journeys are not about arriving but about being, about letting the rain slow your steps until you walk not just through a place, but through a dream. And with that thought, I closed my eyes, breathing deeply, letting the memory of the rainy road trip cradle me into a peace as soft and enduring as sleep itself.